Hello everyone and welcome to InJayzBraiN. I'm Jay and today I'm going to run you through a brake pad change. Now this will work mainly on any kind of disc brakes, so it's good for everything. But I wanted to show you a few things that you really needed to know and a couple little tips on how to take care of the job and do it right and not have odd wear later or 3 months down the road when you bought those nice brakes and one side's all chewed up. That really kind of blows. So I'm going to show you a couple quick and easy tips as we're going through the process. I'm doing it on my van here because I got a sticky caliper. I need to replace that, and I'm going to replace the rotor as well. I wanted to apologize early. I was using my phone to film this because I was just outside, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should, run this through. So anyway, it didn't go 1080 all the time. For some reason, I must have hit record when it was upwards or whatever, and it made it really small, so or really thin. So I just put a background on it. All of it's not that way, just the very front part, and there's another small little clip in there that goes that way again. The rest is 1080, so I apologize for that. Also called a C-clamp a vise. Called the brake pads. I called those shoes. I know the difference, but I just called them that. Anyway, so if you go into like any of your auto parts stores to get those, they're just a C-clamp. You just go through the tools, you can find them. A great place to get them is Harbor Freight. You can get that online as well. It's super cheap. I mean, this is for people that you're not a mechanic, so you're not doing the job all the time, but you need a decent set of tools, and you want them cheap. And that's about the cheapest you can find, unless you run off to pawn shops or thrift stores. You can run through those. Good place to pick up actually some really good tools for a whole lot cheaper. Without further ado, we'll jump right into this brake repair. You can look in there, yeah, you can see they're rubbing metal to metal. They've been doing that for a little while, so I'm replacing the rotor and changing the pads. So real quick though, a nice easy tip for working on like sand or gravel when you're getting ready to jack up the car. Rip off a piece of cardboard, just pull off a piece of cardboard there and slide your jack on that, and then your jack will roll right along just like it's supposed to. With your jack stand, you put the cardboard down and then you sit your jack stand on top of it, and it'll stand right above, even if you're out at the beach and you're on a whole bunch of really soft sand and otherwise your jack stand's just dropping. Just a piece of cardboard will fix that right up for you. So nice quick tip there. So I'm gonna get to jacking this up, and of course you want to break free all the bolts on the tire to get ready when you get this puppy up there so you can rip the tire off. And another nifty trick is to do not take this one, don't loosen that one, loosen all the ones on the top first. It holds the wheel in place. If you loosen that one first, then you're fighting on that one, and then and so on and so forth. So if you just leave one and do all the other ones and you leave that one down on the bottom, everything's kosher. So just so you know. Alright, so this is totally a case of a bad caliper. Now, it's not necessarily a bad caliper, it's a sticking caliper. This is supposed to float back and forth as the brakes get applied. And if you look down in here, if I can show you that, you see that's the brakes. That's the brake pad on this side. It has a ton of pad here, but nothing over here. Completely chewed up, wore down, totally annihilated. Right? Okay, so that's sticking. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to run right out and grab a new caliper. That means this can be repaired. It's not, the caliper itself isn't bad because there's no leaking fluid. So as long as that's working and this is applying pressure, that's great. What it's doing is not releasing and letting this go back to more of a neutral state after pressure's been applied. So that's that problem there. So what we need to do next, pop the hood and get under there. Yeah, there you go. And take the brake fluid cap off, because I'm gonna push fluid back up in there. I'm gonna do it without bleeding. I think that's probably the best way because you're not introducing any air into the system. You're using a big old vise. A big old vise like that, and squishing this little unit back in. So you push that plunger back in, it opens things up because you're going to put a new I'm putting a new rotor on this and new brake pads, so it's going to be the widest it can be, and then, you know, so I have to squish it all the way in and make sure that this will be open as wide as it can be, otherwise I'll just be fighting it the whole time. And then I will show you how to clean this and re-lubricate it so the caliper doesn't stick anymore, and saving you a whole bunch of money. Okay, and I just installed the vise, put it on back there to where it gets up there. Now don't try to fight it. I laid this thing over to where you know, because you're twisting clockwise to tighten it, and laid it over so it's braced up, so you're not having to have two guys hold it. Just this is one guy job. See how much I did squeeze on that already. And as you're going, just kind of let it work for itself. I mean, it's only pushing through a tiny tube, so you put some good pressure on it. You'll leave it for a little bit and crank on it. It'll crank a lot easier. So crank it some, about a half turn or so, and let that compress in there. And then squeeze that thing all the way until that sucker's flat, until it just doesn't want to turn anymore. You can't squeeze it any longer. Now I'm going to go check the brake fluid. So this one is fitted with Allen heads. So I had to get my Allen head set out and get these. And I break them free by setting it up here. You always make sure these are all in as far as they can go. You know, kind of wiggle them around and jiggle them to make sure they're as tight as you can before you do something like I'm going to do, which is take a hammer to it. And I'm not going to film it because I'm holding the camera, obviously, because I'm shaking. But I'm going to hold on to it here and beat down on it over there until it breaks free some, and then get it the rest of the way. So take those off. And get that suspended with a piece of wire or whatever you need, because you need to punch these out, and I already got ahead of myself and punched them out. But these were the connecting bolts and the sliders that allow this to move side to side. So these things were practically bone dry. I mean, making a lot of squeaky noises and whatnot when they were in there. So that's such an easy fix, and people go out and buy brand new calipers, or you go and have this done at like Les Schwab or many other places, and they will put brand new calipers on there because they want to own the entire brake system. That way, with the warranties and stuff, they have full warranty over everything and get paid for everything if they have to fix it. When really all it was just these. Anytime you do brake shoes, when you pop these out, pull these out, re-lube them, get them all nice and slick and gooey in there. It'll save you a ton of trouble later, or 3-6 months down the road, your brakes look like this. They're all flat. Now, and here's just to reinforce that what's going on. It's a problem. Caliper or caliper piston hanging up, caliper slide not functioning correctly. So that's exactly what mine's doing, and that's why it's really not the caliper's fault. It's just those stupid slides. So hopefully by greasing those up and making them all nice and slick, we won't have that problem again. And here's a quick note. As we open up the new rotor, it has a coating on it. It's an anti-rust coating, because if you notice, you don't drive your car for a couple days and you go out, if you look at your brake rotors, they're all rusted up, but after you get back from where you're going, they're clean again. So what we have to do is take brake cleaner, bunch of it, and of course clean your hands, not with it. I suppose you could, but it's not good. It's really not good. But clean the rotor first before you put it on. Wipe it off. That gets all that coating off of there, and then it won't mess up your brake pads. I really don't know what it does. I would think it would just burn off after a while anyway, but it's always good to follow the instructions, right? Alright, got her all back in, buttoned up, torque down. You check torque specs, it's always good to do that. However, with an Allen key or an Allen wrench, looked at the torque specs, and then I tweaked it as hard as I could to get as close as I could to the torque specs. So, and we're just leaving it at that. That should be hunky-dory and ready to rock. Gotta throw the wheel back on, but now she's done.